Well, hello, and welcome to the Centerpoint Business Clinic, hosted by Centerpoint Public Library. I am Octavia Kuransky. I'm the facilitator, the moderator for a Facebook business group called 35215 Zone for Business. We support small business by making a platform available to them for posting products and services. Every month we meet here and discuss very common challenges, not just in small business, but business in general, in the hopes of supporting business and their sustainability, and most of all, their ability to create jobs. Last month, we talked about finance, and I believe the month before, we talked about time management. Today, we're going to be talking about the most valuable asset in business, your staff. The right person and the right job is magic. The wrong person in the right job is tragic. Now, we are in a very, very unique employment era right now. There are so many more jobs than there are people to fill those jobs. I know you've seen it and you've felt the effect of that. So we have to be, but we still have to be careful about finding the right person for the right job. And this is such a challenge right now that we're calling today's session the match game, because it involves some strategy, like any game does. I'm going to give you 6 items that I'm going to suggest that you consider when to attract the right talent and to retain that talent. And then I have 2 or 3 thoughts on staffing that I'd like to share with you that I hope will be helpful. Are you ready? So the first is your company's reputation. This occurs before you even begin posting for a position. What is your company's reputation with regard to how people feel about working at your company? And this is easy to check. You can go online. People post reviews of their work experience at any given company. Just Google your company, and if you've had employees, someone may have posted there. And it is my experience that talented, high-performing people do check online for reviews about working at a particular company. And if those reviews are not, let us say, complimentary, they may self-select and not even apply to your company. So it would be a very good practice before posting to go to Google and find out if anyone has posted a review about working for your company. Now, if it's a great review, good for you. But if it's not such a great review, you need to know, because although you cannot take down anyone else's post or change anybody else's mind about their experience working for your company, you can also post and perhaps put that remark, that uncomplimentary remark, into some kind of context. Bottom line is you need to know what people are thinking about working for your company, because perhaps some changes do need to be made. It might be a little painful, but we have to think long-term in business, as you know. And sometimes that's a little painful. So number 1, know your company's reputation. Now, number 2 is pay decently. Now, I know it's a challenge for small business to match salary offers from large business. You may not be able to do that at all, but I have some good news for you. There are other compensations that can be offered that are even more important to a certain kind of talented, high-achieving, high-performing person. Some of those things are flexible hours, being able to work remotely. A chance for advancement is the love language of talented, high-performing people. If there is, in fact, a chance for advancement, which there often is in small business, this is a huge plus for you. In big businesses, with hundreds, maybe thousands of employees, it could take a person years to work up that corporate ladder. But in a small business of maybe 5, 10, even 50 people, your individual work can be noticed and rewarded. And so to see that in a job posting, that that there's a chance of advancement is a remarkable advantage for small business. Educational opportunities are very desired by talented, high-performing individuals, especially if you're in a very specialized field, let's say technology, where there's a lot of training involved. To know that you're going to once or twice, once a month or every other month, to have a expert in to talk about industry trends, to learn from experts is very sought after, because training in these fields tends to be very kind of pricey. And it also benefits the company to have their employees go through continuing education and training. It's a win-win. So money may not be the only compensation, thank goodness. Do some research on the demographics of the kind of employees that you're looking for. If you're looking for a younger set of employees and or a group of people who are very highly trained in and require certifications and licensing, then although money is a factor, you may be able to mitigate just how important that factor is by offering some of those other considerations that I mentioned. Number 3, if you find someone that you think is appropriate, find appropriate candidates. You might ask a current employee or two to sit in on the interview. Nobody knows how a job actually gets done better than the person who does the job. There are nuances in a job that the boss may not know about. And so to have an employee who was actually doing that job sit in on the interview, they can listen more deeply to the answers that a candidate is giving. Not only can they hear, and you can ask them to hear, not just what they're saying, but what they're not saying, what is missing from their answer. This can be invaluable. Your employee will also be aware of the work culture, perhaps more sensitive to it than the owner of the company is, because after all, they work with the people, on the front line every day. Just being able to have a certain skill set does not mean that the person will fit in. And that can be, in a very small company, just as important as someone being able to do the job. You don't want to invite in people who are not going to fit into the company culture. And every company, every agency, every organization has a company culture. And so inviting in employees to sit in on the interview will help you to be more discerning about whether or not this is a really good fit for a company. It also sends a huge message to the employees that 1, you care about them, 2, that their opinion matters, 3, that they have input into the company. The research on this is solid, that employees who feel that they have a say, that they're cared about, that they're noticed, that they matter, stay longer in their jobs, and they perform better. It actually just makes common sense. So perhaps have an employee or two sit in on the interview. Number 4, interview for attitude and not just for skill set. Skill set can be trained. Character, not so much. When you develop your questions and ask them, what you want to be listening for are judgment, maturity. You want to be listening for their problem-solving ability. You want to be listening for their resourcefulness, their poise under pressure. Some people are professional interviewers, and do very well in interviews. And then others not so well. And this is another advantage to having an employee in, because they can help you listen. But you want to get as much from the interview as you can about their work habits and their attitude, because these things don't show on a resume. All a resume shows is a list of things that they've done, paper, I's they've dotted and T's that they've crossed. But what you want is someone who really understands the job and its importance to the company. You want more than that. So interview for attitude. Ask them, this could be like your last question in the interview, what they expect to get from the company. What do you expect to get from the company? You ask them. And whether they state it or not, people do have expectations. Ask them what their expectations are for the company, for their putting in their time there, because you want to know if it's possible. You want to be able to say then, well, I think that we could help you with that. If you could help us with this, we could help you with that, because you're looking for partnership with your employees, and not just somebody who's coming in and sharpening pencils and, shuffling papers. And you want someone who has the capability of real buy-in. So ask them what they want from the company besides a paycheck in return. That's number 5. Number 6, be clear in both the job posting and the interview about duties and expectations, which are 2 different things. Duties are just tasks. If you're looking for a bookkeeper, for example, one of her duties is going to be doing the daily journal. That's just a task. But expectations are a little more intangible. Getting to work on time is often not stated in an interview or a job posting, but that's one of your expectations. Cooperation with other employees is an unstated expectation. These unspoken expectations can really make or break a employee and employer relationship. This is kind of a riff on number 4, and when you're asking for questions to get their judgment. A good way to go about this is to set up questions that ask them to respond to situations. What would you do if? What would you do in this situation? How would you handle this situation? What are your feelings about this situation? Can tell you a lot about their judgment, their maturity, and how they see the world, and whether or not they'll be a good fit for your company. So in summary, number 1, you want to check your company's reputation and make sure it's like your credit score. You want to make sure it is where it's supposed to be. You want to pay decently, and since you're seeking talented, high-performing individuals, you also want to be able to offer other compensation, continuing education and training, flexible hours, remote working when necessary, mentoring and coaching if possible. Number 3, you want to consider having an employee or 2 sit in on the interview so that they can help you judge whether or not this person will be a good fit and really understands the duties and the nuances of the duties. You want to, number 5, I think I am. No, number 4, interview for attitude and character. Number 5, ask them what they, in their opinion, can contribute to the company. Everybody ought to be contributing to the bottom line, from the receptionist all the way up to senior technician, honch. Everybody ought to be contributing to the bottom line through their jobs. And ask what they are expecting from the company in return for their time and their expertise. Be clear about duties and expectations. You don't want anybody blindsided once they start the job. This makes for turnover. Oh, I didn't expect that. Oh, I didn't know that. We want to minimize turnover. Turnover is very expensive. Okay, here's just 2 or 3 more thoughts that I thought I would share with you. I hope they're helpful. You can ask your current staff for referrals if you're looking for additional staff. And you could even offer an incentive a monetary incentive, $100 for a referral if the referral is hired and stays for 6 months. Think long-term in hiring. Is this person going to be just the pencil sharpener and the paper shuffler, or is this somebody that I can coach, that I can groom into taking more and more responsibility so that I can work more on the business and less in the business, and so on. You want to think long term and not just for the job at hand. Remember to offer ongoing education and training. I'm telling you, this is the love language of talented, high-performing individuals. Nothing says, and also with regard to reputation, offering ongoing education and training, nothing says more about a company than its willingness to invest in its employees. Nothing says more than that. Well, that's not all, but that's all there is for today. I hope that was helpful. This is number 5 in a series of 6 discussions that we've planned. Next month, I've decided to do a potpourri. I receive questions and comments on occasion, email. And I'm going to choose I'm going to get through as many of those as I can that haven't been covered in the first 5 of these videos, which, by the way, you can always find on the Centerpoint Public Library's Facebook page and YouTube channel. They're archived there. So I'm going to choose 4 or 5 and just do a kind of a speed dating situation with those questions. And if you have a burning question or desire, you can inbox me that at 35215. I'm the administrator, so you can just inbox me at the group. And you can take a look at the group while you're there and see if it's appropriate for you to post there. Or you can email me at info.35215@gmail.com. info.35215@gmail.com. Listen, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a fabulous week, a monstrous month, and the most prosperous year ever. I'll see you next month.